Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. JACALYN. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. JACALYN at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome, or hopefully it's welcome back to USA Global TV and Radio. I'm Dr. JACALYN KERBECK, the founder, president, and chief listening officer at our network, where we have 28 live broadcasts every week. Our show today is The Art of Creating Mental Health Wealth, and joining me is my friend and co-host for the show, Jenetta Barry, and the Epiphany Process. Welcome.
Hello. Hi, thank you, Dr. JACALYN. Hello, everybody, to all our viewers and listeners out there. Wonderful again to be back with you.
Jenetta, tell us where in the world you are today.
Where in the world am I today? Well, last week I was in the Great Rift Valley of Kenya, near a lake called Lake Naivasha. This week I'm in the city of Nairobi. But I'm not right in the city. I'm round the corner from what many people know. It's pretty famous, from a place called Giraffe Manor. Those of you might remember seeing videos of it where the giraffe put their heads and necks into the window and eat your breakfast as a guest at that boutique hotel. I literally am in walking distance of there, where I am now. So I'm in Nairobi for the next couple of days, and then I'm back to the Rift Valley again.
How exciting, Jenetta. I can't keep up with you. And I just love the videos and the images that you're sharing on social media. So thank you. It's another world where you are.
It really is. And it's where my heart is. I grew up here from a baby in arms. To me, it's home.
Well, it's magnificent. And thank you so much for doing this show with me. As you know, our purpose is to provide education, inspiration, and hope, and sometimes a little bit of entertainment as well. And you brought a fabulous guest who's joining us, and also in another time zone. We'll hear more about that. But before we bring him out, please share with our audience why it is you wanted to do this show and what you'd like people to take away from it.
Oh, thank you, Dr. JACALYN. Yes, this is my great passion. The reason why this show exists is because nearly 17 years ago now, I lost my 16-year-old daughter, Jennifer, to suicide after she and I had an enormous argument one day. And I really didn't know how I was going to get through it. And eventually I made a decision and reminded myself that I had choice to get through it, that I didn't have to be labeled with the label of the mother whose daughter committed suicide. And although that's not going away, that's there for the rest of my life, there's more to it, and there's a bigger picture. And I was determined to find that bigger picture and live an inspired life because of that greatest life test. And it wasn't easy. I really battled, but I managed to work my way through it slowly and gently. And it still comes up in layers. For those of you who were with us last week, I mentioned that 5 weeks almost in isolation on my own brought up the early days of isolation after having lost Jennifer. To me, not so much the loss of her, because I've dealt with that as much as I can in this space-time, but the feelings of isolation with that loss resurfaced in this isolation, and it felt like I was back in that time. And I really have, thank goodness I have the process I have to work me through these things, because I had to really work myself through. And that process is the Epiphany process, which I'll be talking a bit later today on Talking Heads about, which I'd love you to join me on and hear a little bit more about it, because it was my lifesaver. But also, we realized that Jenny had died on World Mental Health Day, the 10th of October. I mean, what a coincidence is that? And I always believe there's no such thing as a coincidence. Everything is interconnected. We are all connected. And that there was a very special reason for that. And that reason is we now have World Jenny's Day, which we use every 10th of October to promote and normalize and soften conversations around feeling compromised, depressed, suicidal, and all those solutions that come up with those scenarios. And we use theatre and the arts to soften and normalize those conversations. It's amazing what that does. And we've got an amazing lineup starting to happen this World Jenny's Day, 10th of October. And both Dr. JACALYN and I will be presenting on that day on this platform, USA Global TV and Radio. And we will be going and reaching people all over the world, because the theme this year is where in the world is World Jenny's Day. And we're going to have World Jenny's Day and performances from all over the globe. So looking forward to having you there on that day. And today, this program is about the art and mental health wealth, which is all part of what I've just been speaking about. And my guest today, I'm really quite honored to have here. Woon and I, again, he's another person I met on Clubhouse. And from day one, what I loved about Woon on just an audio app, because Clubhouse is an audio app, is his soft-spoken impact, his knowledge. What he hasn't read and what he doesn't know, well, isn't worth knowing about, because he is so very, very, very well read. And, I'd sit in different clubs and rooms with him going, wow, you are profound. Whenever I want some really profound guidance in terms of internet and what's going on in the metaverse and all these things, Woon is your man. But his real purpose in life is to be able to acknowledge people and feel a sense, so that those people feel a sense of belonging and that they feel listened to. Now, this goes very much in with what USA Global TV and radio's ethos is with Dr. JACALYN, is the listening side. And Woon's powerful podcasts allow the person to know their voice is being heard, that they can make a difference. And that's why he established podcast publishing. He's passionate to be able to show how to successfully start a podcast, and to work with you to launch and scale that podcast, and to help you fall in love with podcast publishing. Woon is currently based back at home in Malaysia, but when I met him, he was in London, and spent 10 years not only studying there, but also working in finance, and only went back. I mean, Woon, I think, was beginning of this year, he went back to Malaysia, and he's done amazing things. He's worked with, this is another program in the future, DAOs, which he'll touch on a little bit today, podcast publishing. And I can't wait now, without more ado, to introduce you to WoonTan, everybody.
Welcome to the program. Nice to see you.
Hi, everyone. Glad to be here.
Woon, I got a genuine sense of your authenticity and what a nice person you are, just from the few minutes we spent backstage. So it's a pleasure to have you and hear all about your journey. I heard the word finance. So you had a career in finance and left it.
Yes, yeah. So that was my start of how I started, really. So I studied actuarial science at university. So I left Malaysia, started my university degree in London, and then went into finance. So I was working in an insurance company, one of the biggest mortgage lender in the UK. And from there, I was there for 10 years, qualifying to be an actuarial analyst, and then and then I realized it wasn't for me. I think I had that intuition that it really wasn't my environment, even on my first day of work, but I somehow stick with it. But it was over time I realized it just wasn't my career path, and I had to look for something else. But that was my start to how I got started, and that led me to all sorts of adventures. But yeah, so that was the big thing. And I know, people are listening could be coming from a corporate background, or they could be working in a job that they didn't like, and I definitely experienced that. And I think I stick with it because I was convinced that uh, I wanted that security. I wanted that financial security, but also that that learning environment. I somehow convinced myself I was in, and also a few other factors. But really, that was my beginning, and it took me to different parts of the UK. I managed to explore outside of the UK. I was working for in total 5 different companies over that 10 years, and had a few different roles. But I really struggled over time to really be in flow, and that was the thing that I realized. Oh, I got to change, and I was looking for opportunities, and I realized that, hey, there's something called podcasting. I was enjoying podcasting. I was enjoying listening to podcasting. So that was one of the things that I realized. I started to listen to more sort of other people's journey, other people's entrepreneurial journey, and that was one of the things that that got me got me motivated when I was still working. So yeah, that was kind of my start of that story.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I have a follow-up question. So what was it on the day you decided this career in finance is no longer for me? Did something happen? Was it a buildup of something? What was it?
Yeah, thanks for that question. I think it wasn't one particular incident, but there was definitely a number of things I was feeling that I realized that made me realize I had to make a decision, and it definitely wasn't an easy one. So by that point, this was almost 10 years ago. It was and it was after the financial crisis. I sticked around for a few more years, and what happened was I found out about podcasting. I listened to it, I enjoyed it, and then I realized I could start a podcast and still be sort of networking and really reap the benefits of podcasting. And so I actually founded a podcast even when I was still working in finance. But I really found it difficult to juggle both things, right? To have that career path and still doing exams. I was still sort of doing exams to qualify in my actuarial career path, but I also did not had a lot of support in terms of the work environment. So I found that even though I really enjoyed my team, I loved the people I was working with, I wasn't progressing as quickly as other people. And also I just wanted to explore what I was capable of, and I know I wasn't challenged in my role. And so those factors all combined to me making that decision. That it was also after a sort of annual performance review that they said, oh, I didn't, I don't deserve this bonus. I wasn't progressing as much as they wanted me to, and I saw that people were doing a lot less work, were getting promoted quicker. It really wasn't fun and motivating and inspiring, and all of that really culminated in me sort of deciding, okay, I'm gonna make that decision and leave. But in some ways, it was I didn't have any plan B. I decided I had a podcast, but that was it. I knew I wanted to explore other things, but for the most part, it was a decision, and I stepped up. I kind of, just kind of put in a resignation letter and made that move. So it was a difficult decision, but I knew it was the right one. Deep down, I really, you know, I knew I had to follow my intuition.
Thank you for your
Woon,
candor.
I wanted to. I'm putting you a bit on the spot here, but I think you and I have got to know each other sufficiently well over a year we've known each other. What would you say, off the top of your head, having to endure those 10 years and feeling marginalized when others were able, it sounds to me, and you can correct me here, but it sounds to me as though others were selling what they weren't doing far better than you were just knuckling down and doing in the corporate life. Am I correct with that, first of all? In other words, you were working, they were selling themselves and doing less work. Would that be the scenario, first of all?
Yeah, I think partly I realized that I wasn't recognized for the work that I was doing. I think the work that I was doing wasn't recognized, but also it felt as if that, in general, the work environment wasn't a very positive environment. So there was a lot of stress, and it wasn't just me, it was a lot of people in the team and across the company. So it wasn't just like my own feeling, right? I could sense that people in the job in that environment were very stressful, and they weren't inspired by the work. And it was also, that I think I felt that I wasn't reaching my full potential. That was a big thing, and that's always been a big driver for me. So I realized that there's other ways to contribute and to make a difference, and so that was a big thing for me.
Okay, and I'm so glad you've said all that, because it endorses what I was going to put you on the spot about, which is how much of what didn't work in that environment and you endured. Let me put my teeth in straight. What skills and techniques and experience did you find having to endure doing things you didn't really enjoy doing and not being recognized for doing? How much of those skills have been really impactful and helpful for you now that if you hadn't had that job would be missing in what you're doing now?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really interesting, this question. So for me, I did learn a lot of skills. That was definitely the case. I had a very wide range of experience that I managed to put myself into, and that are relevant to what I'm doing now as an entrepreneur. Running this business, running this podcasting business, and there was a lot of. I think part of it are technical skill sets, just learning how the businesses work, but also the soft skills of communication, how to influence other people, how to communicate. Those sort of skill sets were very important, and I think over time it became much more obvious that my path that I've taken, really became it really allowed me to become who I am today. And so I've always been following my curiosity, and I've always went to the path of where there's most learning for me, that interests me. And so that's always been something that I realize it's always a risk, but also ultimately it's always rewarding for me.
Yeah, I like that. And when you can do that, when you can step forward and say, wow, without that, I wouldn't be as successful as I am today.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't, I think I underestimate how successful I am, right? It's not something I reflect a lot on, but I think it's something that for me it's it's sort of following those clues and being able to sort of take the next step is always the challenge, right? Like for anyone. But I think that part of my life had allowed me to sort of run this business right now.
It's a fascinating interview, and we're going to take a break now. When we come back, I want to talk about the art of podcasting, the business of podcasting, a hobby of podcasting, how you take a hobby and turn it into a business for people who are out there who'd love to know that. So how does that sound?
Yeah, awesome. This
All
is
right.
exciting.
Thank you so much. All right, we'll be right back after this commercial break. Hello and welcome back to USA Global TV and Radio. Thank you so much to Helen Ashard and Ian Pelham-Turner for the sponsorships. Really appreciate it. Our show today is The Art of Creating Mental Health Wealth. And joining me, welcome back, Jenetta Barry, founder of the Epiphany Process and World Jenny's Day. Hello.
Hello. What
And
an impactful one that last advert was. Really impactful.
It really gets you right here, as you well know.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to bringing our guest back. He's joined us from Malaysia, and he's the founder of Podcast Publishing. He's going to tell us everything we need to know about doing something as a hobby and turning it into a business, possibly an empire. Welcome back, WoonTan.
Hi.
Nice to have you back with us. So we were discussing in the first part of the show about your corporate career in finance and how from day one it wasn't a fit, but yet you persevered because you wanted the experience and, of course, the glory of the money. We all are like that wave in front of us, those bills, and we start running. And then we realize, you know what, it's not worth it. It's not happening. So you left, and now you have your own business. You're an entrepreneur. You're helping people all over the world. Tell us about the art of podcasting. What do we need to know? And then we'll go into hobby versus business, etc.
Yeah. So for me, I think podcasting is still a fairly new medium, right? So it's been around for some time, but if you talk to most people, it's still a fairly new medium, right? So podcasting, why do you want to be podcasting, or why should you be listening to podcasting, right? So podcasting has grown massively, and just at the start of the pandemic, right, we had just under 1 million podcasts out there, and now we've gotten over 2 million podcasts, and then pandemic absolutely accelerated the growth of podcasting. But really, when you think about podcasting, it's mainly an audio platform, and audio is authentic, right? Audio shows the personality and demonstrates the personality behind the mic, and from a marketing point of view, it really gets people to know and like you very quickly. And it's much easier to get that what you call the zero moment of truth, right? Which is kind of the time it takes for someone to know you enough to do business with you, right? So that time, it really shrinks it down. And so I think there was a research that was done by Google called the Zero Moment of Truth report, and they actually said that it takes 7 hours of content, 11 touch points, and 4 locations before someone actually makes an online purchase. But that report actually came out more than 10 years ago, and they redid this report, this research, and all those numbers, 7, 11, and 4, those numbers have gone up massively. And so with podcasting, it's just easier to create those content that gets people to know, like, and trust you, to want to do business with you. And then I think the big reason why people should consider podcasting is that it positions you as a thought leader, as a leader in your field, because you're sort of getting to speak to other people. You're getting that sort of one-to-one conversation very quickly. And also, I think as a medium, it's one of the best word of mouth medium that you can create, right? So there's a lot of stories there. There's a lot of aha moments that happens during a podcast, and so it's very shareable. It's very viral. It gets people to share your content easily. So those are the reasons why. If you're new to podcasting, if you're considering starting a podcast, those are big reasons why you should think about podcasting, both as a hobby, but also for building your brand. I think those are important reasons to consider.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
I have a question for both of you. And I didn't have the pleasure of meeting either of you on Clubhouse, but I was definitely on Clubhouse and I was there every day pretty much. And I felt like it was a lifesaver in so many ways. And even though you couldn't see the person, to your point, you could hear their voice. And it was really an authentic way of meeting someone, because that's what we had. We had our voice. We didn't have, what we look like or any of the visuals. So do you find that Clubhouse really was a game changer for many people during the pandemic?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Clubhouse, there've been many attempts to create sort of Clubhouse like live audio, live podcasting platforms, but I think Clubhouse really came at the right time, at the right place, right? So they really shaped this whole new wave of creating live audio content, and they were good because they were very specific. They only allowed you to do a certain things, which is to join as a conversation, to kind of create that virtual space, right? But it's audio only. There's no screen, so it makes it so much easier for people to just jump on. And it was, I think previous platforms were kind of on the less on the mobile, and so with this platform, I think it really kickstarted this whole new wave where people just join the conversation, and it's a new behavior as well. People were new to it, but also very excited because you get to actually ask questions of people that you might only dream of having that one-to-one conversation, right? So I think it's really open up a whole new opportunity for me. Definitely, when I joined Clubhouse last year, I was there almost every day as well, and it was a game changer, and it really helped a lot of people connect. But also, it sort of you could know these were genuine relationships because people were connecting every day, right, at a regular cadence. And I think that sort of solidified a lot of the reasons why we want to be podcasting, why we want to be sort of sharing these stories, having these audio conversations.
Thank you so much. Jenetta, what are your thoughts? Is Clubhouse still viable, still as important as it was?
No, I don't. For me personally, I don't find it as viable or as effective as it was. Having said that, there are a lot of people who were there last year who are still very interactive and still a part of it. I noticed that it leveled the playing ground on an international level, that people that were very well known, say actors or personalities, were suddenly rubbing shoulders, as you would say, with anybody and everybody. And that's where, when you were saying it was easy to talk to people, I mean, I was in a room one day with Paris Hilton, on stage with her, and I could have stepped forward and said, what if I wanted to. And many other personalities. So I think during the pandemic, it linked the world globally, and people started seeing how other people operate and live, and also understood that we were all in the same boat. It wasn't the country I'm in that was going through this. We were going through it globally. And I think it softened hearts and made people step forward. Having said that, I really battled with it as a medium because I'm a visual person. I really battled with it. I don't know if I ever told you, Woon, but I actually didn't like being there most of the time because I couldn't see people. And I love seeing people and I love their facial expressions. And so for me, it was too limiting on one side, but on the other, the people I've met, you and even I didn't meet you, Dr. JACALYN, through Clubhouse, but most of the people that have had such an impact on World Jenny's Day in this last 2 years have come from Clubhouse, and I thank Clubhouse every single day for that. But it definitely has changed this year. All those people who could help me last year, by way of example, are too busy this year. Understandably, they're trying to catch a new life in a new world with new meaning and feeling quite different themselves. But I was just so grateful to have them last year through Clubhouse. So grateful. So it's a lovely medium, but more for others than me. I really battled going into different places and talking.
Thanks, Jeanette. It's good to have different perspectives. I appreciate that. So I'd like to move on now to the $1,000,000 question, so to speak. How do we take the hobby of podcasting to make it an official business? Can you share more about that with us, Woon?
Yeah, so podcasting has grown massively. It sort of just started as a hobby, sort of super niche media. And you could see that more and more the brands are putting money into podcasting because they're realizing how effective it is in terms of creating awareness for their brands, but also engagement. And people are actually buying because they've listened to a podcast advertise their brand, right? Or a sort of give out a ticket or a sort of coupon code or some sort of discounted product that is mentioned on a podcast. And so they know that as a medium to sort of do their marketing and branding, it's working. And so because there's a lot less competition and it's a new platform, people love it, right? So the money is following into podcasting, and then this is going into the technology platforms, the podcasting platforms. And so we're seeing this sort of cycle of money coming in. It sort of gets distributed. More and more podcasters creators are creating podcasts, and so the entire ecosystem is growing. And so as a podcaster, as someone who wants to start a podcast, you want to understand what are the sort of revenue streams that you can create out of podcasting, right? So you can definitely do what you call sponsorships, which is quite common. So you can create a podcast and then sort of invite sponsors to sponsor you, and that usually means that you want an audience that's aligned with the sponsor. So you want to be able to sell sponsorship packages to these sponsors. But the other very common sort of approach for a lot of hobby creators are really the membership approach. So you would actually get paid by the listeners themselves. The most passionate listeners, the super fans of your podcast, would then pay you directly for exclusive content, behind the scenes, early access, things like that. Right. So they want to connect with you. They want to have conversations with you. They want to hang out with you. So that is a very different approach to getting paid as a podcaster, but also is a very common one and is increasingly becoming more and more important. I don't know if we're gonna touch on NFTs, but or those sort of things, but these are sort of the trend in which we are moving towards. And so we want people like to support who that they're creators, because ultimately we want to pay the people that are sort of inspiring us, that are sort of entertaining us. I think that's what the world is moving towards. And there are other sort of ways to get paid as well. So in the sort of online world, affiliate marketing, that is a very common approach. So you do get paid if you recommend products, and then there are things such as so the sort of traditional online platform would also pay you by advertising on your podcast. So this is kind of the YouTube model. So you would have your podcast, and your podcast might reach a certain number of listeners, and then you can monetize your podcast, and then any type of adverts would appear in front of your podcast, and you would get paid just based on the number of downloads that you can generate. And so, and the good thing is, for most of these podcast platforms that allow you to do that, you don't even need to have that many listens. You can almost instantly monetize your podcast right from the beginning. So these are kind of the big things to be aware of when you're starting out, or if you're not aware of it, is good to know, and then you can sort of work towards that. And I mean, right now you can definitely make a substantial living just by having 100 true fans. I think that's kind of the new norm. So so yeah, that's kind of the way. If you want to take your hobby podcast to the next level, definitely explore these options, because if you can become financially sustainable through your podcasting, then it makes it so much easier.
Absolutely. That'll put a big smile on someone's face for sure. How do you work with your clients? How do you work with people to get them to embrace this idea and say, okay, I'm going to give up what I have in the corporate world or whatever it is I'm doing, and I'm going to go full in on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the people that come to me already have a business. So I'm not. I tend to work with people who already have a business, but I see a lot of podcasters who are starting out without necessarily the right type of setup, but that's okay as well, because they are sort of building that audience. And so for me, I think the key thing is to be passionate about the topic that you're talking about, and be wanting to be learning on behalf of your audience, because that is really key. Because you want to be asking the right type of questions, inviting the right type of guests, and be curious about the topic. And as long as you do that, then you'll be able to inspire your audience, educate them, and also add value to them. So you're helping them solve practical problems. You're sort of giving them information, relevant information for them to progress. And so those are really important points when it comes to sort of thinking about how you go about setting up your podcast.
How do you know when you've got 100 real fans?
I mean, it's a
How do you
good
quantify that?
I think it's a good question. It's one of those things that um, is is a difficult one to answer. But I know I've sort of so there's actually someone in the DAO ecosystem called I believe her name is Li Jin, and she was the first person to coin this term 100 true fans. And basically the idea is that you don't need as many people to really create a sort of to sustain your content creation. And the key thing is to make sure you sort of have a target audience, and sort of keep answering to that audience, and sort of build up that audience through consistent content. And so how do you know? You know it when people are engaging with you. You know, when you get fan mails from your podcast listeners, and when you're getting sort of feedback on and ideas and how to improve, or how to create more shows, or how to improve, who else to interview. I think those are really good signs that you're moving towards the right direction.
Okay. In actual fact, we were saying before we started the show, there's so much to talk with you, Woon, in future shows. And you touched on something that people will be going, Dao, is that to do with Buddhism? But it actually isn't. And it's a decentralized, autonomous organization. And whenever you start talking about it, my mind is blown away. And Dr. JACALYN, I can't wait to have Woon back to talk about the DAO and what the future of the DAO promises for us individuals and as entrepreneurs and as communities in the way forward. So it'll be an interesting one to work forward with as we come to the end of this show, sadly. But is there anything you wanted to ask further, Dr. JACALYN? I know you're going Dao.
That it is a fascinating topic, and I'm looking forward to learning more. And I wanted our audience to know that when Woon registered, you had 5 topics, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is at least 5 shows. It could be 10 shows. So there's a lot more content here that I know we'd love to have you come back and share with us on multiple shows.
Yes, I really thank you guys. I mean, I think you guys are doing an amazing job sharing your message and sharing this to the world.
Thank you. That means a lot. I appreciate it. How can people get in touch with you, and who would you like to contact you? We have your banner, but for people who are unable to read it or they're on the radio, please let them know.
Yeah, I mean, the best place to find out more is my personal website, WoonTan.com. So that's WOONTAN.com, and you can reach me on LinkedIn and Twitter. But yeah, for people who are interested in podcasting, whether you are starting out or if you've been podcasting for some time and you want to sort of have an audit, or if you want to have a chat just to see where you can improve, I'm always happy to speak to others. And I like you guys were touching on, I do work in a DAO, and if you know anything about DAOs, this is a very exciting space. And I'm basically working on a podcast incubation DAO, and we are sort of basically helping people set up podcasts through in this sort of DAO environment. And so this is kind of a bit like the future of where work is heading. So the way I think of it is that if you look at 10, 15 years ago, there wasn't any digital entrepreneurs or freelancers working remotely, right? But I think this is kind of the new wave of where things are heading. And so it's a very exciting way of working, but also organizing. And so I'm working in this space, and I'm basically wanting to see anyone who wants to launch a podcast, or who's thinking of getting into podcasting, whether it's working as an editor, as a host, as a storyteller. These are all very exciting opportunities, and I wish to meet you and speak to you.
Thank you so much. Just a quick follow-up question. Do you actually provide the service of auditing someone's existing podcast? So if people are already out there, do you actually give them some feedback? Hey, this is working. Maybe you should consider this, change this up.
Yeah, this is something that a lot of people have come to me, even though I don't have a specific product for them. But yes, I have been approached a lot, and it's something that I've built up a lot of knowledge in. So yes.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So please do reach out to Woon. All of his information is here on the banner. Jenetta, anything you'd like to share before we close out today?
No, just Woon. I'm just so glad you were able to be with us today as we expand this conversation into the global village for metaverse village for entrepreneurs with our teammates, I should say, because Woon and I are now part of a metaverse village for entrepreneurs. And I can't wait to share that in the future. So welcome back.
I can't wait to learn more, because this is an area that I'm not familiar with.
We can't wait to share.
This is a very fun, exciting place to be in. So I'm really looking forward to be back and seeing what happens next.
Thank you so much. All right, have a pleasant evening, and we'll look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. Bye. Jenetta, thank you so much for bringing Woon to the platform. That was really fascinating.
Yeah, he, as you say, his genuine openness, his soft-spoken way of insightfully understanding things that are far deeper and are definitely futuristic. He inspires me from the moment I met him. So I'm hoping and looking forward to seeing where this brings us on USA Global TV too. It'll be
as am I. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And Jeanette, I'm going to spotlight you to share your information, but also let people know that you have your talking heads. Tell them what that's about. You sort of indicated a little bit. And then you're on a woman's prerogative today. So tell us more.
I am. Okay. So in a few hours from now, about 3 hours from now, if you would like to tune in, I have a talking head show where I talk the epiphany process, which is the process that I researched and studied after having lost Jenny, my daughter, to suicide. And I knew I had to find ways to accurately get through my greatest life test, where I too was planning my end to my life. 3 times I nearly went there. And I knew I had to find something that wasn't hit or miss or trial and error, or where some of it did work and other parts didn't. I knew I had to find a place to move forward with, and tools and techniques that were really, really beneficial. So the Talking Head show, every week I've been sharing how the epiphany process operates, works, the insights that it brings out, so that you see more than appears to be at the end of your nose, and start asking yourself questions you've never asked yourself before. And when those questions start being asked and you start answering them, you start getting that bigger picture. And it is incredibly empowering. You don't feel as though half something, you know how you can, sometimes you stop and you go, there's something missing in my life and I can't put my finger on it, what that is. That's what the epiphany process helps you to do. So join me in 3 hours from now on Talking Heads, where I talk further about the insights and how that works. And I can walk you through with more depth as to how to make the epiphany process work for you. And then another 3 hours after that, with matchsticks in my eyes to keep them open, I'm on A Woman's Prerogative, because it's at this end of the world in Kenya, it's my 11 p.m. and we finish at my midnight. And that's also a very crucial program on talking about anything and everything matters women, and that matters to women. And having said that, Dr. JACALYN, I have to say, I think the program before ours is also very important today, which is the men's equivalent, with a panel of men talking about men's viewpoints in life. And I think today's topic on men's viewpoint on pornography is going to be an amazing one to listen to. So I'm giving that one a plug too, because wow, there are so many programs on USA Global TV I highly recommend you get to. So that's today. I'm presenting on 3 programs today, and I look forward to having you back and come to all the others as well. I think you find that it's quite hard to get away in the end, because there's such a diverse amount of subjects to tune into. So thank you, Dr. JACALYN.
Thank you, Jenetta. I really appreciate that. And, it's interesting for the men's show, Roland Friedel is our host and moderator, and he shared with me the topic. And I thought, I don't know that I want to have a show about porn on this platform, because this is education, hope, and inspiration. But I did some research, and apparently it is a problem among certain generations. So I thought, okay, we'll let it go. So we are having that show this afternoon, and I appreciate it. And thank you for staying up late with us.
With your great.
Well,
I love it. I must say, I'm personally, sometimes I go around going, whoa, with the matchstick still stuck there, but I just love it.
It is a big commitment, and I really appreciate you making it. Thank you.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I look forward to seeing you later today on Talking Heads.
Yes, can't wait. And yes, love to everybody. Look forward to having you again on this show this time next week. We've got a fascinating man who I met through podcasting. He podcast interviewed me. I don't think I've ever been so thoughtfully interviewed on the subject of Jenny and suicide ever in any podcast ever before. So we'll have Hirsch next week. I can't wait to share him with you, because I think you'll love him as well.
Thank you. I look forward to that. Yay. All right. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you soon.
Wonderful. Lots of love.
Love to you too. Thank you. Bye. All right, everyone. Thank you so much, whether you're watching us on the live or the replay. I just have a few messages for you. We have the opportunity for you to be a guest co-host. Someone actually came to me and said, I don't want to be on every week, but I'd like to be a guest. What can I do? Well, now you have the opportunity. You can book in as a guest co-host for a show. Go over to usaglobaltv.com and you'll find the opportunity to do that. We also have a new show that will be immediately following this show. And that's not today, but it's starting, I think, in 2 weeks. It's called Rapping with Dr. JACALYN. It's a show about nothing. So if you're thinking to yourself, what does that even mean? What it means is we have no agenda, no script. I don't know you, probably you don't know me, but let's get to know each other. And if you are someone I know, I probably don't know you as well as I could know you, or you might not know me as well as you could know me. So let's take 40 minutes and just meet like in a virtual living room and have a conversation. And finally, we have a brand new course. For those of you who don't know, I teach the power of listening. I have many courses with Madeline Chan, and this is our newest one. It's called Heart Gratification, Male and Female Energies. We're going to be delving into male and female energies this afternoon on a woman's prerogative. And also, if you happen to miss it on my Talking Head series yesterday, I actually shared some videoed scenarios of male and female energy. So you can learn all about that over on our YouTube channel, USA Global TV. Go to Talking Heads 2022 or Talking Heads Dr. JACALYN KERBECK. All right, that's a wrap for right now. We're coming back with United Kingdom news and culture. We'll see you shortly. Thanks again. Bye, everyone.